Welcome to BookWorthy, where we talk about the heart behind the books your kids read. Today, we're talking with author Tennille Marie about her middle grade sci-fi adventure, So My Mom is an Alien, which follows Wyatt Ricardo on a wild adventure after his mother disappears. What will he discover about his mom and himself through the pages of this book? Welcome to BookWorthy, Tennille.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It is a pleasure. Now, we usually start our conversation with the random question of the week. So since we're in the fall, we will ask the must-know question. Is it pumpkin spice latte or apple cider as your drink of choice?
Apple cider all the way.
We talked a little bit before we hit record about, I'm really surprised. The more people I ask, the more people say apple cider. And apple cider is just not really my thing. Neither is pumpkin spice latte, but, if I had to pick one of those.
I would take an apple pie, apple spice cider. I would take apple anything.
That is almost, what is it? Not just a flavor, but a culture or an experience in itself. It all comes into one. I love it. Well, Tenille, now this isn't your first book. You've written some historical fiction. But what made you beam over to middle grade with this book, So My Mom is an Alien?
So I have 3 sons, and they all wanted to be characters in the book. And I have 2 are stepsons, and 1 is my son. And I read to my son every night. He just loves stories, and so we read a lot. And I just thought, how neat is it to write these stories that parents read to their kids at night? And so it made me want to write something that would be, at the time when I was writing it, it was around the time age group that I was targeting was what they were in. They're older now because it's slow, but it was in the age group. And so I tried to make it, my son has a reading disability. So I tried to make the book very simple so he could understand it and read it. But mostly I did it for the boys. They each wanted a name. So one of the characters in the book is named after my children.
That's always fun, that little tidbit that only really you and your kids will know, but
You won't know. You might know which ones, but you'll figure it.
Too fun. Well, tell us a little bit about the book itself and where those ideas came from.
The ideas came from, I think, from my boys too, because, when they look at me and their dad, they just see that we're boring parents. We just, we clean the house and we make the dinner and we go to work. And really there's nothing very special about us, So I think maybe a lot of kids just think about their parents as just being boring old parents. And so I kind of wanted a twist on that. I kind of wanted a story where the child found out their mom was a whole lot more than what they thought they were.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit more than what they thought.
Well, why do you think your reader, which middle grade is kind of that 8 to 12 range, will relate to your main character, Wyatt, so well?
Well, I think they'll relate because he is definitely not perfect. And he also is, but I like it because I tried to make him where he's willing to learn. So he's learning, and he's got, problems just like everybody has problems, school related, where he needs to study more because he's not doing so great, but he's still trying. And, it's just, he wants friends and he loves his family. And so it just is, I think, very relatable character. He's funny. He has a good personality. There's a lot of parts where I read it to my sons and they laughed and they were like, "You wrote that?"
Our sons never understand how humorous we can be.
They don't. They do not.
Well, what is it? I love with this book that you have brought in a blended family, that there is, the odd relationship of stepfather and stepmother and stepbrother and awkward stepsister and just all those really weird interactions from your own experience in your own family, that you just wanted to have something that was relatable to kids that might find themselves in that situation.
Yes, there's a lot of times I read a lot of books and there wasn't a lot of blended families, and so I wanted to show that, just because we're blended families, we're still families, and, and so we can be represented as well.
And when you get down to it, blended, or what is it, whatever you want to call it, but blended or not, you're going to face the same issues.
You are.
You got a whole bunch of people in a small space, and there's just going to be
and they're
drama,
all trying to make it through the day.
Exactly. Well, with this book, what do you hope kids walk away with when they finish the last page?
Well, I hope they walk away with a sense of they can accomplish things that they may not ever thought that they could. Like that if you keep working and believing in yourself, you're going to be able to accomplish things that you never even thought of before.
That might be out of this world, maybe?
Yeah, out of this world.
Too fun. Now, where did your writing journey begin, Tenille?
Well, my son is autistic, and he was going to, I guess it was called Lego therapy. And so I would spend a few hours there waiting for him while he was with the other children doing their Lego therapy, which was absolutely a blast. He absolutely loved it. And the whole time I was there, I would play on my phone. And so I felt like God just kind of saying, you could make more of this time. You could do something more with this time instead of just sitting there and wasting it. And so I kind of just started bringing a notepad and a pen and writing.
And so you started with historical fiction, is that correct?
No, I actually started with the middle grade. It just took me longer to get to where we could get it out than the historical fiction.
I know, it's hard to really put timelines on books.
Yeah, because
they're all
you
so
kind of just all here or there. Yeah.
So did you start with this particular story or just kind of that middle grade age?
No, just kind of a middle grade age.
Okay. That's fun. Then what led you to write some historical fiction?
Well,
also,
I really love historical fiction. It's the genre that I go to more times out of not. I don't know, it just draws me in. And my father-in-law was a Vietnam vet, and I didn't see a whole lot of, now that Kristen Hanna had The Women came out, that was out. But before then, there wasn't a lot of fiction out about Vietnam with characters. So I really wanted to have this whole saga of characters that go through the Vietnam War. But this is a process.
Just a little bit. It is neat to kind of, what is it? Vietnam really wasn't all that long ago, and
no,
we don't have a lot of stories. We have lots of men and women that walked through that war and experienced that war, and we don't have a lot of stories. And it's one of those sad things that it almost takes them starting to pass on and no longer being able to tell their stories for us to really start appreciating these stories. Like same with World War II. The majority of the men and women that were through World War II are kind of on the backside of life, but, we're still getting story after story and story because it was such a time of, I don't know, awakening and understanding and re-examining the human expression in a sense. And so
I agree.
It's neat to see us look at, a little bit more recent history and kind of see similar things, the story. For better or worse, the story doesn't change. The human condition doesn't change too much over time. But
you're so right.
The setting and the people do.
I really started the story when they were little. So they're like middle grade era. And that's the first book. And then you kind of watch them grow up. And then the second book is about Vietnam. And I'm working on the third where, they're kind of getting over like what they've been through. So, and it's with 3 characters. There's a different perspective of the war.
Oh, yeah. Well, did you always want to be an author, Tenille?
No, I always wanted to write stories. I love to tell stories. My grandpa would tell me stories, and then I would tell my friends at school. So, and they were always kind of funny. He had silly stories that didn't really make sense, and they were funny, and the kids would love them and laugh. And so I just loved to tell the stories, but I never thought of myself as a writer, but I've always loved to share stories with people.
Well, it took a lot of courage. What made you make that jump to, I just like to write, to being an author?
I don't know. Sometimes when you get to writing, when I started, it's like I don't think I could go many days without writing now. It kind of gets into your system, and then you want to make sure, like, for some reason, it makes you want to share these stories with other people. It is hard because there's critiques and people who don't like your story because, I mean, it's never going to resonate with everybody, but you just have to develop a thick skin and put your work out there.
I love that. Yes, it is definitely a process. It's that weird dynamic where you want people to read your stuff, but you don't really want them to read your stuff. It's like, hold on, they're going to see a whole different side of my brain when they read this. But it's an expression of, seeing things differently and processing our world, and allow that expression out to others to do the same is very rewarding in its own way.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what is your favorite book, Tenille?
My favorite book has always been Pride and Prejudice. I just love it. I can't help it.
It is kind of that classic, what is it? Enemies to lovers story, like they say.
I've just always liked it.
Okay. So I have to ask you the real question now about Pride and Prejudice. Mm-hmm. Do you prefer Keira Knightley version or the 6-hour BBC version?
No! I know, I can't help it. I don't know why. I don't know why. Every time it's on, I'll watch it. Can't help it.
I don't know. It's something about the Colin Firth version is, I don't know. It might be 6 hours long, but it's
I know, everybody says that. And I was like, I can't. I don't know.
Keira, not to say anything against Keira, she did an amazing job and played Elizabeth Bennet very well.
She did.
That was it. That BBC or A&E version.
I know, it's like the big
with the story. It is. Now, Tenille, what is the most impactful book in your life other than the Bible?
I was going to say the Bible. But,
I know.
There's this book called Local Girls that Alice Hoffman wrote, and it's really short, and it's not exactly, I mean, I guess there is some language in it. I try to stick to like clean books, but there is some language in it. But when I read that book, I realized, like, at the end, the meaning was, things get hard and things are rough, but if you keep just pushing on and keep going, then things end up working out or getting better in the end. Like, just, you would need to hang on to see the good, and not give up. And so even though it's a short book, I really like it because that's kind of like what it's saying.
We all need to be reminded to keep moving.
Yeah, keep going. It's bad right now, but it'll be better.
Situations might not change, but our perspective and our heart can. And
right, exactly.
What I tell my kids all the time is, like, you can't change the circumstance, but you can change your attitude.
Yes, that's exactly right. And the effort that you put into, yeah.
Agreed. And because of that effort and that attitude, other things will change. So
right, I agree.
Too fun. Now, kind of going back to middle grade, do you have a favorite middle grade book?
I do.
Okay, you do. Good.
Me and my son have read so many middle grade books together, but Wonder, I just love that book. Touched my heart so much. I actually started crying when I was reading it to him, and he said, "Are you crying?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "Hang on, let me get my phone." He was going to record me crying to send to his friends, and I was like, "That is so mean."
Why are you not crying?
I know, you should be crying too. But it's just such a well-written book with such a wonderful story and characters. I just love it. I've even read the ones that are written after it too.
They're really neat stories, and
they are
a situation, no matter who we are, that we can relate to somebody in that story. We've all been, can't remember his name. Ozzy? Is it Oz?
Yes, Ozzy.
Yeah. We can all relate to Ozzy because we've all been that person at some point. And if not Ozzy, then one of the kids picking on Ozzy. And so it's one of those such well-rounded stories that brings out just places everybody has been and helps you see things from different angles.
I know. It was amazing.
It was a good story. I think I need to read it again with my kids because I think I read it when they were just a little too young to really get it. I think we need to read it again.
Well, if you cry, make sure their phones aren't anywhere around.
Right. Well, that's funny because like I'm not usually the one that cries at things. So my husband and I will be like watching a sappy movie, and he's like in tears, and he looks over at me and goes, "You're a horrible person." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I just express my emotions differently." He's like, "Why are you not crying?" I think the only movie that I've ever like ugly cried at was I can't remember how the Benjamin Button story.
Oh, yes, that was like, oh goodness.
And my oldest son was, I think, 9 months old when that happened, so that was not the best movie to watch as a new mom. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, my brain went lots of places it should not have gone. Well, Tenille, what can we expect next from you?
Well, I actually have the second installment of some of the middle grade, so my Mom's from Outer Space book written. So it'll be out probably like after this one, of course, but I got to finish it, fine tune it. And then I'm working on the last of the historical fictions. So I've got two almost done and almost getting closer. So
there's a lot of work to do and to work in two different like parts of your brain too, because humorous, sci-fi adventure is one place and historical fiction is another. So I'm impressed.
Thanks.
Well, Tenille, where can people find out more about you and your books?
Well, I have a website. It's www.tennillemarie.com. And that's a good place to hear all about the books and see, you get a freebie if you sign up for the newsletter. And also my Instagram is on there too. So you can follow me there as well.
Very fun. I'll make sure to have that link in the descriptions. Thank you so much for joining me today, Tenille.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here. Appreciate your time.
It is my pleasure. And thank you for joining Tenille and me on this episode of the BookWorthy podcast. Check the show notes for any books or links that we discussed, and let us know in the comments which you would choose, a pumpkin spice latte or apple cider. Be sure to like and subscribe to discover more great books together. Happy reading!